Morning, everyone. So we will start the discussion now, and welcome to this tutorial number 2 discussion. So we will start with the first question. The first question is, if n people are presented in a room, what is the probability that no two of them celebrate their birthday on the same day of the year? Ignore February 29. Okay, so ignore February 29 means it's only 365 days, and there are n number of people. Okay, so none of the none of n people can have the same birthday on the same day. So if one of the people have their birthday on January 4th, no other one, none of the other people of n minus 1 other people cannot have their birthday on February 4th. Okay, so likewise it goes on. So in the first, for the first person, there are 365 days to choose from, right? Okay, highlight. For the first person, there are 365 days to choose from. For the second person, since the first person chose one day, there are only 364 days left. And for the third person, there are only 363, and it goes on like that. Okay. So over here, it is 365 minus 0. Over here, it's 365 minus 2. Okay. So there are 3 people over here. And if we consider all the way up to here, it's on n number of people. So this should be n minus 1. N minus 1, right? Because over here it's 365 minus 0, but there is already one person. So the number is 1 and the negative 0. So over here it's n number of people. So we are subtracting n minus 1. Okay, so we are multiplying 365 over 365 because we need the probability, right? So number of all possibilities are 365. So the probability is 365 over 365 for the first person. For the second person, it's 364 over 365, and it goes on like that. Okay, so we can reduce the equation to this formula right here. So we can so the bottom parts, it's 365 to the power n, and the denominator is 365 multiplied by 364 multiplied by 363, and it goes on like that. So that is 365 permutation n, right? I hope you remember what the permutation is. So the permutation is 365 factorial divided by 365 minus n factorial. So if you can solve this one, or this equation right here, it will give the upper part of this division in this formula. Okay, so that solves that question. So let's move on to the second question. uh, in a state lottery, a player must choose 8 of the numbers from 1 to 40. Commission draws 8 numbers out of 40 from a random experiment. What is the probability that a player has all of the 8 numbers selected, 7 of the numbers selected, at least 6 of the numbers selected? Okay, part A asks us all of 8 numbers selected. So let's draw another beautiful plot. Uh, so there are 40 total number of numbers. Out of 8 are correct, right? Out of 8 are correct, 32 are wrong numbers, some other numbers, okay? And some player must choose 8 from these 40 numbers. Okay, so the first question is, what is the probability that a player has all of the 8 correct numbers selected? So he or she should select this all of these 8 numbers, right? So he's choosing 8 numbers out of 8 numbers. So the probability is, sorry, the number of possible combination is 1. And we have to divide by number of all possible combinations, that is 40C8. Okay. Second one, 7 of the numbers selected. Okay. So if the player has 7 numbers selected, there are 32 wrong numbers remaining and 1 right number remaining, right? So there are 48 and 32. We are choosing 7 from here, and there are 1 left, and there are 32 left over here. But we are not considering 33 numbers remaining, right? Because this number right here is a correct number, right? We don't need that one. We only need numbers from this section right over here. So we are choosing 7 out of 8, and we are choosing one number out of 32 of these wrong numbers. So we multiply to get the combinations, and then divide by the number of all possible combinations, and that is 4C8. And the next part, at least 6 numbers selected. So the question is at least 6 numbers. So that means 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so we have to consider 3 possible combinations, right? So there should be 6, there should be 7, or there can be 8. Okay, so so this question is pretty easy because so this part right here, it means player has chosen 8 of the 8 correct numbers. So that's part A. Okay, and the second one, number of seven correct numbers chosen. So that is part B, and we are only left with this part right here. Okay, so we can calculate that one. Since we only need 8 of the correct numbers, sorry, 6 of the correct numbers, we are choosing, excuse me for my handwriting, we are choosing 6 from 8, and then we are multiplying. So we have already selected 6, so we have 2 remaining, and for those 2 remaining, we are selecting from the wrong 32. So this is number of all possible combinations, and then we divided by all possible combinations, that is 40C8, right? And then we add those probabilities together to get the final answer. Okay, the final answer is 0.00018. Question number 3. A total of 36 members of a club play tennis, 18 play badminton, or 28 play cricket. So in a question of a Venn diagram, when you are reading the question, draw a separate plot while you are reading the question, and draw some Venn diagrams. And so there are three categories, right? Tennis, badminton, and cricket. So we will denote this by full circles. And while we are reading the question, we will display the information in the Venn diagram. Okay, 36 members play tennis. The 36 over here. 18 play badminton. 18 and 28 play cricket. Okay. Furthermore, 22 of the players, sorry, 22 of the members play both tennis and cricket. Tennis and cricket. So 22 and 12 play both tennis and badminton. Tennis and badminton. So this below here. 9 play both cricket and badminton. And there are 4 members who play all 3 sports. So these 4 should be within all 3 circles, right? How many members of this club play at least one of these sports? So it means, so in this type of questions, please read the question very carefully. So this is a very easy question, but some people have got this wrong because they are not reading the question carefully. So it asks for at least one of these sports, right? So it should be, so the answer should be every members within any of these circles, right? Because it says at least. So anyone in this colored area is a possible candidate for the answer, right? So we have to find every number of every people in this colored area. So we have more than enough information. So we will cross here. Okay. So it says 12 players are playing tennis and badminton, and there are 4 playing both, and it should be 8 over here. And since it's 9 over here, it should be 5. And since it's 22 playing tennis and cricket, and there are 4 playing all those 3 sports, and it should be 18 players who play only cricket and tennis. Okay, and so it's 18 and 5, and we can find these in this section. It's 18 18 minus the summation over here, so it's 6, and over here it's the it's 1. It's 1 over here, and playing members playing only cricket is this section over here, so it be 28 minus 22 and 5, that's 27, so it's all again 1. And over here it's 36 minus the summation of this section, so the 36 minus 20 and 20 and 22, 32, so that's 6 players over here. So we have our answers correctly. So it's 6 over here, 1 over here, 1 over here, and 8, 18 and 5. So the summation is 43. Okay. Question number 5. Question number 5. An urn contains n number of balls. An urn contains n number of balls. So in this lecture series, I think it will be very helpful if you draw some figures and graphs while reading the question. So it will be very helpful, and it will be helpful when you are answering the questions. So read the question properly, draw some figure or some sketches along the way. It will be easier to look at the figure instead of reading question over and over again. Okay, so display the information given within the question in some sketch graph while you are reading the question. Okay, so an urn contains n number of balls, so there are n number of balls. If k of these balls are withdrawn at a time, so we are taking k number of balls, so you should be drawing much clearer plots. Sorry for my graph. So if k balls are withdrawn one at a time, with each selection being equally likely to be any of the balls that remain at the time. So it means every ball is drawing independently of the first one, right? Each of these balls are each of the balls that is remaining within some remaining at a given time. Every one of these balls have same probability of being chosen. Okay. So, and the question is, what is the probability that the special ball is selected, right? And 1 is special, right? So n is over here. So there is 1 special ball, and n minus 1 are ordinary balls. So we are selecting k number of balls. So the question asked is, what is the probability that the special ball is selected? Okay. Since we are taking k number of items out of n, so the number of all possible combinations are n combination k. Okay. So our denominator is right. Okay. Yeah. Over here it says we have to find number of ways to select the special ball. So there are only 1 special ball. So if we are taking that out, so that means we are taking 1 ball out of 1. Right? So if there are 2 special balls, we can say 2C1, but there are only 1, so it's it's 1C 1. Okay? And we have selected one ball, so we have to take k minus one number of balls, right? So we have to take out k number of k we have to take a summation of k balls, but we have already chosen one, so there are k minus one remaining. And in this urn, this one is already gone, the special one is already selected, so there are n minus 1 left, so we are choosing k minus 1 from n minus 1. Okay, so that is 1c1 n minus 1 c k minus 1 divided by the number of all possible combinations, that is nc k. So the answer is k over n. And the final question, eighth one. Uh, if A, B, and C are independent, prove that part A, uh, the intersection between complementary of A and complementary of B is equal to the multiplication of the probabilities of complementary of A and complementary of B. Okay. Uh, so I think there are some additive and multiplicity law in probabilities. I think we have learned them, and De Morgan's law and some theorems such as those. So those will be helpful in tackling these kind of questions. Okay. So take the left side first. Left side first. So the probability of A complementary intersection of B complementary. So we can take the complementary sign out by flipping the intersection, right? So it be A union B. We take the complementary out. When we take the complementary out, so that is so the complementary is 1 minus probability of A union B, and the probability of A union B can be written as probability of A, probability of B, and probability of uh, subtracted by the probability of A intercept B, sorry, the intercept of A intercept B. So this section and this one right here, 1 minus PA can be written as 1 minus A can be taken as A complementary, and over here from over here PB plus PA multiplied by PB, we can take the PB out, and within brackets we can write 1 minus PA, so that is already once again A complementary, and we can take A complementary out, and within the brackets there is 1 minus PB, so 1 minus PB is PB complementary. Okay, so these are very easy questions. Use those theorems I said earlier. The answer is only few steps away. Okay? So part B is the intersection of A, B, and C is equal to the multiplication of probability of A, probability of B given A, probability of C given A intercept B. Okay. So the intersection of A, B, and C is equal to multiplication of probabilities A, probabilities B, and probabilities C, because A, B, C are independent sets. Okay. So what independent means is the choice of the probability of A doesn't influence B or C, and vice versa. Right? So we can take probability of A, and probability of A is already in the answer, so we won't need to modify any of that. So we are taking this part, probability of B and probability of C, and we are modifying them to suit our answer. We take probability of B, and I'm multiplying and dividing by the probability of A. Right? If you look at this section over here, it is by the conditional probability. So this is probability of B given A, right? We can actually write this in a one single line, because PB is actually equal to PB given A, because B is independent of A. The information of A doesn't influence the choice of B. So this is equal to PB. Right? We don't have to prove that, but for the sake of the answer, we will do that. And then the next part, probability of C, and likewise I'm multiplying and dividing by the probability of intersection of A and B, and that is once again the probability of C given A intercept B, right? So instead of in this equation, so it's PA multiplied by PB multiplied by PC. So we will instead of PB we will put PC given A and B. Sorry, PB given A. For instead of probability of C, we will put probability of C given A intercept B, and the answer is answer can be taken by putting those probabilities instead of the PB and PC. Okay. So that marks the end of the discussion.